Coming up today on That LTD Life, it's tough out there. People need jobs. Why don't you capitalize on that by creating your own job board? Thanks to the folks at Job Boardly, that's not very hard to do. You just need $79 and an afternoon to set up the tool and you'll be off and running. Now, my name is Dave Swift. I'm going to be reviewing this tool from beginning to end. I'll tell you what I think, if it's good, if it's bad. You can make up your own decision. This video is not sponsored, by the way, so if you like this style of content, make sure you click on my AppSumo link. Doesn't matter if you're an existing AppSumo customer, a Plus member, I will still get credit if you click that link before making a purchase. Thank you so much to everyone who's done so. I really don't want to have to head to my own job board and start looking for a real jobby job. So let's keep this train going. Let's check out Job Boardly. Now, there are lots of plans available. $79 is the plan that I'm going to be using. Although I do think there is good reason to move up to say like tier 3 or tier 4 if you're serious about this. We'll get into all of that at the end, right before I give you my final conclusion. So here is Job Boardly. I've been playing around with this a little bit. I've set up the look and style of my job board. We can take a look at what it looks like over here. I'm in the admin section, so I'm going to go to like the public view right now. And I've added my own logo. I added my own links. You can add links to this header section. I have public posting on, so if you wanted to allow people to post their own jobs, you could do that, but you can also turn this off. So if you want to make it maybe more of an internal hiring board for your own company, you could definitely do that. But there is a way to put up a paywall and you can actually monetize both the posting as well as the viewing of jobs. So that's pretty cool. I don't have that set up because you have to connect up Stripe and I just don't want to give access to Stripe to every LTD I try out, but that's definitely easy to do. I'll take you through all those settings. This is what the job posting looks like, by the way. So if you want someone to fill out their job, we'll do a title, whether it's part-time, full-time, contract, then you can enter your company name, the logo, the destination or the location, whether it's remote, on-site, or hybrid. You can restrict people from applying to certain parts of the world. So let's say you don't want to hire worldwide. You could say only hire in North America or the United States. We can get rid of North America. Now we just take people from the United States, whatever works for your company. Then there's some other sections here about like how to apply, the job description, the salary that's going to be offered, and then the email if you want to add that for people to contact. And then you're ready to go. You can just go ahead and post the job. It's very similar to when you post it as the administrator on the back end, what you just saw to post publicly. So let me show you that. We're on the back end right now. And if I go up to jobs right here, I can post my own job on the board. Okay, so here's the jobs page and you can see I'm under all jobs right now. I just have one job. We can go ahead and add another one quickly here. Again, it's like the same thing you just saw, except now I can highlight and sticky specific jobs if you want to. All right, we're looking for a new driver for the taco truck. If you don't know, the Taco Truck Roundup is my weekly AppSumo review show. Definitely get subscribed to the channel if you have not seen that, and maybe you don't have time for these full-length reviews. All right, so here is my job posting, taco truck driver. I'm gonna go ahead and make this highlighted and sticky so we can see what that looks like. I've entered in all of the information here. Of note, I've changed the location to be on site. That popped open another field where I can choose the office location. So by default, I have it set to remote. This is an option in the settings. We'll go through that a little bit later on, but I'm gonna change this job posting to be on site since you need to be a driver. It is also a volunteer position. I'm not paying anyone to drive this truck, and we can set the salary information down here. For now, I'm just gonna go ahead and create the job. Oh, I need to enter in the URL. This is my first little nitpick of the review. I've had some trouble with URLs not going through correctly. Notice I did not enter in HTTPS. Now, there was another issue, which I will show you later on, where it actually gave me an error when I entered HTTP. I'm gonna try that out here and see if it goes through. Yeah, I went through here, but I'll show you later. It's going to refuse HTTP under certain circumstances. But anyway, the job post looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and publish this, and they're giving me a warning here. It's gonna be available immediately. That sounds good. All right, great. So the job has now been published. Let's go ahead and check this out on the front end. And you can see now I have two different job postings. By the way, these colors are customizable. The link colors are customizable. I'll show you that. But I've got a job post here for That LTD Life, the taco truck driver. And then I've got a demo job for Client Amp. For Client Amp, you can see the salary mentioned down here. For the taco truck, we can see the location of the job. So very nice layout. I'm pretty happy with this. And we can also see when the job was actually posted. So 11 minutes ago, I posted my first job. And then 1 minute ago, I posted the most recent job. Now I do have the option over here to search the job. So I could go ahead and search by company or by title. So let's say I looked up tacos. Let's try that out. I'll filter jobs. I would expect, yep, the other job went away. I can also choose the type of job. So whether it's full-time, part-time, you can filter that out specifically. And also under locations, because I entered this job was in Minneapolis, it automatically added that to the filter. Now, this is interesting to me because remember there was that one negative review over on AppSumo? Well, one thing he mentioned was there's no way to filter by location, but I don't seem to have that problem. It's just right here. So I'm not trying to call out MBO over here. It just sounds like he had a pretty bad experience. Clearly a veteran AppSumo buyer with 460 purchases, but they do mention that this is not the right tool because the user cannot search by city. They have to go to the end of the website to see the list of available cities. So I guess that is true. You probably can't search by city. Let's try that. I'll search for Minneapolis. I'll switch this back to all locations. And yeah, no jobs come up, but the location dropdown, I think, is just going to solve that problem. There's also a toggle right here. If you only want to find remote jobs, you can turn that on. If I filter now, the other job goes away and I see my only job is the remote one. So overall, this is a very simple, clean, and fast experience. I really don't have a bad thing to say about it so far. There's a lot more to test, but if I click on a job posting, it pulls it open here. I can see the details as well as the job description down below. I didn't take very much time to write this. There's also some sharing links and an apply now button. I can hide these share links in the settings, so you can definitely do that if you want. You don't want these to show up. I did mention before you can add links to the header. You can also add them to the footer. I've customized it with my social links, but I could add any link down here that I like. And then all of this is customizable as well. Like if you don't want to show the locations at the bottom of the website, you could hide that. If you don't want to show remote jobs, you could hide that. All of these pages are customizable as well. So how are they customizable? Let me show you. First, we're going to go over into settings, and then you've got the board name here. I just called it Client Amp. There is an RSS feed that is created for the job board. So that's really nice. If you want to have people subscribe to the job board, they can get notified when new jobs are posted. We can also change the design over here. This is where I uploaded my logo, my favicon, change the brand color. There's an option for the background color. You can set your font. These are all of the Google fonts. I think every single one is available, so that's nice to see. Here are those share buttons I was just mentioning. So if you don't want those, just toggle them off and you won't see them. Then click Save Changes. We've got our header and our footer right here, so you can design those differently. They can have a different background color and a different link color. Now, notice I've added one link right here that goes over to clientamp.com. And then down in the footer, there's little toggle switches here, so we can turn off all jobs, categories, and locations if we don't want to see those. And you can also add in separate links for the footer. So this would be a link to an external or internal page on your site. The last few options under settings are for SEO. We can do an SEO title and meta description. There's also a sitemap that gets generated, so you can actually link up your job board with Google, which is great, especially if you're trying to monetize this. You can actually show up in search results. This would work really well, I think, if you're trying to do some kind of very niche category. Let's say maybe you're looking for, I don't know, YouTube editors for tech companies that are doing, talking head screen recording type of thing, like what I'm doing right now. There's a big market for people that are doing these types of videos. If you created a job board just full of editors that did that, I bet you could do pretty well. And then down below, we have our social links. This is where I added in my social profiles. Now, this is where I want to point something out. When I copy and pasted my Facebook URL in, I accidentally just, sometimes when you're auto completing or just grabbing it from the browser bar, if you don't actually load up the page, it brings it in without an HTTPS. It'll redirect once you go ahead and hit enter. So when I copy and pasted that into this box and I hit save changes, it actually tells me this Facebook URL is not valid. And the only reason it's not valid, I was like, did I enter in something wrong? I ended up just changing it a bunch of times. No, the only reason it wasn't valid is that I didn't have the S. So if I add the S, it saves and it's fine. It says design settings updated. But if I remove the S, it goes away. And if I don't enter in the HTTPS at all, well, then it says enter a URL as though this was not one. I don't think this is a very difficult programming challenge to overcome this. I see it all of the time. So I'm not trying to, just target Job Boardly's developer specifically. I see this on lots of tools that launch on AppSumo, but it's got to be something that you can solve because, I, as a user, I don't want to have to think about that or rationalize why didn't this go through. You should just solve it for me. Ultimate nitpick here, but I know someone else is out there saying, yes, that bugs me too. All right, so we're in the design settings right now. There's some other options. We've got email settings. We can set our reply to email. Notice that if you want your emails to come from your own domain, you need to purchase their unbranding add-on. Now with AppSumo Tier 3, you actually get the unbranding included. So you might want to consider that because having the emails come from your own domain is pretty important. If you purchase this as an add-on, well, you can do so. It takes you over to a Stripe page and it is $100. Now that is $100 once, but if you buy it on AppSumo, it's going to cost you more than $100, but you'll get multiple job boards. So it just kind of depends on, well, are you going to roll out multiple job boards in the future? Then maybe it makes sense to buy Tier 3, which includes the Job Boardly branding removal. The next section is translations. You can translate this tool into another language, but only one language at a time. So essentially here we can set our default language and then just translate it ourselves, right? So we can go ahead and change the language down here. So if I change the language to German, you'll notice that none of the fields actually updated because I need to click over here where it says reset values in German. Once I do this, agree to their little warning, everything actually changes over into German. Now don't worry, if you want to go back to English, just simply choose English, update the language, and then reset the values into English. So your job board can only have one location. This might be a reason that you want to have multiple job boards. You could have the same postings across different areas and just translate it into different languages. AppSumo Tier 3 looking a little bit better. Next up is domains. Now, currently I'm just using their Job Boardly domain with a subdomain, and that's going to be fine for this video. But if I were to roll this out in real production, like we're going to use it as a real job board, I'd probably add my own custom domain in, which is included even on the $79 plan. So right here under domains, I'd click add domain, enter my domain in, get a CNAME record, and then just update that with my DNS settings. There is a coupon section over here. So if you want to create some coupons that will link up to your Stripe account, you can do that. We have an integration section where you actually connect up Stripe in the first place. And if you want to inject any code right here, so they say Fathom Analytics, Google Tag Manager, you can add the code in right here. Next, there's a place for your ads.txt file as well as webhooks. So if you want to integrate with other tools, we can do that via basically a new subscriber webhook. This will bypass double opt-in, it says. You can also integrate with Discord or Slack if you want to get notifications on one of those platforms. All right, moving on, we're under job settings. And the first option here is the default currency for our job. So we're going to do US dollar, but we can choose any of the other currencies available. There's even more here. Looks like all of them. Then next up, we have automatic approval. This will allow jobs to be posted without requiring approval. And then we've got job posting. Notice the button on my job board here, post a job for free. If I don't want that, I can actually turn it off. So I'll just toggle this switch, hit save. It says job settings updated. Now I'll reload this page and that button goes away. Next up is filter settings. By default, it's set to filter all, but we can do it by city, region, or country. And the last option here under job settings is sponsored jobs. And they say this is in beta, but essentially we have an integration with Adzuna. You can toggle this on, set your job country and your job category. I'll just choose catering. If I hit save changes here, now I should start to get some job postings from Adzuna and I'll be able to monetize for every click that I receive. So I don't know much about the Adzuna platform. If you do, definitely leave me a comment down below. Is this a reasonable way to actually make some money? All right, let's move on to our prices section here. This is where we can set up prices for posting jobs. So we're going to choose our currency and then the job prices down here. By default, the basic plan is going to have a job last 30 days. It's not highlighted and it's not sticky. They also give us some other examples of what other plans might look like. So we've got promoted. This could last for 30 days and it's highlighted, or featured. This lasts for 30 days and it's highlighted and sticky. So you could go through and set the pricing plan for each one of these. Now you can add more plans, but it does require that you integrate with Stripe. So I'm just going to show off these settings right here. You could start to think about the different options you might want to use for your job board. The next option is Paywall. This is where you actually set a fee for people to view the jobs. So now you're making money when they post the jobs and you're also making money when people view jobs. So you get paid on both ends. That's great. So here's what it'll look like if you actually set up a paywall. You'll get this subscribe to unlock message and you'll be able to kind of blur out the different options with the pricing plans available so people can actually subscribe. Next up, we can set up some job categories. So let's say, you wanted to hire developers, designers, video editors. You get the point. Now you can start to categorize your job postings. Under arrangements, these are the types of job arrangements that are available: full-time, part-time, contract, temporary, volunteer, and internship. You can't add new ones, which I find a little peculiar, but you can hide options. Like, let's say we're not doing any temp work, we will hide that option. And the last option under jobs is locations. Now, by default, I have it set to remote. That is the default option as well. But if I wanted to say we're doing only on-site in-person jobs, I could choose this option, and then that will just be the default. You can always change that option when you're creating a new post, but it'll just be preset to this. Now, keep in mind, when someone adds an on-site job, it's going to ask what the location is. So that will be added in. You don't have to add all the locations here, like each state or each city where the jobs are. That'll be done at the time of posting. All right, so that does it for the settings. Next, let's head over to the pages option. So this is where you can set up different pages on your website. Now, this isn't going to be a full-on page builder experience, so don't get your hopes set up too high. But you can see we've currently got a home page, a checkout page, a privacy policy page, and a terms of service. If I want to add a new page, I'll click right here. I can give it a title, a slug, they call it a path, set the status to be draft or published, add our SEO data here, title and description, and then you can simply enter in some content over here. So here's a test page. I'm going to go ahead and publish this. I just have a little bit of copy, and then I dropped in an old thumbnail here. Let's hit update, and then I can view the page by clicking right over here. And then I'm going to go back to my page and I can view it right here. Now, of course, I could add a link in my header or in my footer, but this is essentially what it looks like. If you're doing maybe some blog posts or something like that, it might be just fine, but it's not going to be a great website building experience for anything very sophisticated. So you're probably not going to move your entire business over to this platform, but it's called Job Boardly. What do you expect? Honestly, I'm pretty impressed it has any sort of website functionality at all. So that's pretty cool. Now we can see all of the money we've earned right here under payments. We can see our current subscribers right here under subscribers. And now the last thing to check out is the jobs itself. Now we created a job. We can see our active jobs and our pending jobs, but there's a whole other section down here, which is going to be the most exciting part to a lot of you out there. And that is the idea that you can basically aggregate open jobs from around the internet and then pull them into your platform. So your job board is going to look instantly busy. So there's actually 3 different ways to do this. We've got the direct importer. If you click on this, it simply wants you to add a job and then you can import it right into the tool. So it's a URL for one job, it'll bring it right in. Now I should mention there are some limits on how many jobs you can bring in. Everybody gets 250 credits to get started with. It doesn't matter what size AppSumo plan you buy, you get 250 starter credits. Now you can buy more credits for this importing. You click here to buy credits, $9 for 1,000. You get 5,000 credits for $42 or 10,000 credits for $79. Now a credit is used whether or not it is successful with importing the job. So just know that if you test out a job on one website and it fails, don't try like 500 other jobs on that same website. There's probably some kind of compatibility issue. So one of my favorite open source projects is called Ghost, and they actually have an opening on their team. Here is their career page, and if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, sure enough, they're hiring for an engineering manager. So if I click on this, I'm going to go to the page for the engineering manager position. Now I'm going to copy this URL. Now keep in mind, this is not a mainstream job posting board. So I'm very curious, will Job Boardly be able to do anything with this at all? So back over in Job Boardly under Direct Importer, I'm going to go ahead and import a job, and I'm going to paste in the URL to the careers.ghost.org website. And it does say it's going to cost a credit whether or not it works. So let's try to import the job. Looks like it's all queued up here. It says direct import started. Now it says importing. And it doesn't surprise me very much, but this job import did fail. Now, why doesn't it surprise me? Because if you look at the job posting, it doesn't look anything like a traditional job posting. It just kind of, it's a lot of copy here. It doesn't have, the normal kind of schema you typically see. Now, here's a more typical job posting. This is for a company called WP Engine. They're called WP Engine. I'm going to grab a job posting over there and I will paste it in over inside of Job Boardly and see if it can import this job, which looks a lot more traditional. So I'd expect this to succeed. So once again, we're going to import a direct job, one URL at a time. We'll look at bulk importing right after this. So let's try to import this WP Engine job. It is queued up. And that time it didn't even go to importing, it just went to view jobs. So this one did successfully import. Let's view the job and see what it looks like. All right, so we can see all of the fields that got filled in. It got the entire job description here. It's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like on the front end. All right, looks great. We've got a link right over here. I can click apply now. Takes me right over to their page to go ahead and apply. There's a button right there, very obvious. Cool, that worked perfectly. Okay, so that was the direct importer. Next, let's check out the Turbo Backfiller. Now, the Turbo Backfiller, it says, is one of their best features. Seriously, it automatically adds job posts to your job board. All you have to do is set a guideline or two, and they will take care of the rest. So let's go for it. Add a backfiller. I'm going to limit this to 10. That sounds good to me. I'll have these jobs published, and let's put them in the category of, how about developers? I'll enter the job title web developer to be a little bit more specific. It says press enter to add. I can specify job types if I only want to find full-time or part-time jobs or maybe contract work. For now, I'm going to leave that off. I can choose a language here. Let's go ahead and find just English jobs. And we can specify countries, regions, cities, remote jobs. Let's say only remote jobs. How about that? I want to find some web development, remote jobs, and let's create the backfiller. Oh, there's some advanced options. Let's check those out first. So it says these options are for advanced users. Keywords, search for jobs that have certain keywords in their description. We have jobs categories, company categories, and company keywords. All right, I'm gonna leave those blank, but perhaps they were useful to you. Let's create the backfiller. All right, so it says backfiller created, and it runs in less than a minute. And that took like literally 3 seconds. I just hit reload and it says 10 jobs backfilled. Let's go ahead and find out what they did. Now it's gonna run again in 7 days, so it will automatically keep updating, but it'll also use your credits. So just keep that in mind. If you want to turn that off, you should probably do that. You can go ahead and delete the backfiller right here. It's a little odd to me that there's not an option to set the refresh date or how often this is run, or maybe you just want to do it once. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'll leave this on for now, but let's go ahead and check out our jobs. And here we go. We've got 10 new job postings. These look legitimate. Here's one for Boardly Agency. They're looking for a WordPress developer. I can go ahead and click on this one. We'll hit manage. We can view the job. It says Boardly Agency is looking for a full-time remote worker. It pays 10 to 15 pounds an hourly. They require a bachelor's degree in computer science or related. Yeah, you can see all of the requirements here. It looks pretty good. If I wanted to actually go ahead and apply, I can click right up here and it's going to dump me right over on their website. Oh, looks like the page doesn't exist. All right, that's a failure. Now there is an option in the header here. If I click on Boardly Agency, I can then go to job openings and I can see all jobs. Let's find out if the web development one is still on here. Yeah, sure enough, here it is. There's actually quite a few of them. So I think we were looking at this London one before, I believe. So let's click into that and just see if it matches up with what we saw. So we've got their main header section here. It looks like the exact same listing that we saw. So perhaps the link, yep, the pay is the same, fully remote. So perhaps the link just didn't translate correctly. It was enough for me to find it if I was like really excited to work for this company. But it would obviously be better if the direct link worked correctly. Now, obviously I could go back into the job posting and then update the link here because you can see it just had a little bit of extra stuff in it. It's got like application/new. If we take that out, I believe it would probably work without any other editing. All right, let's check out one more and just see if it works. It looks like Phoenix Recruitment here has a couple of postings. That sounds kind of boring. Let's go to this Pareto Publishing option. All right, so web developer to build our investor relations site. All right, let's go ahead and manage this and we'll view the job. Looks like this is a remote job for a company in Poland. And it says they want to see portfolios and then they'll talk. So let's click on apply now and see what happens. All right, this works. We go right to the correct page here to apply. So that's really what I'm looking for at this point, is to make sure that the job postings it's importing are legit, that they're actually there, and that all of the links work so that our job board isn't full of broken links. So far not perfect, but certainly not terrible either. Let's go ahead and move to the next option, which is the Magic Aggregator. Now the Magic Aggregator is kind of like the direct importer meets the Turbo Backfiller, where you can choose a specific location that you want the jobs to be pulled from. They're not going to just be everywhere on the web, but it's not going to be one job at a time. It's going to grab all of the jobs on the site. So here is all of the careers open at WP Engine. Let's try to import them into our job posting. I'm going to add an aggregator. I will paste in the URL. How many jobs to import? Well, it says there's a maximum of 500, but I'm just going to do 10 again. I think that sounds good. I can highlight and sticky them if I like. They're going to default to being posted, and the post date will be the original date. And I can set up a category for this if I'd like as well. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and hit add aggregator. It says source created, and it will run in less than a minute. Now, 2 jobs imported. I'll hit Command R. 6 jobs, so they're clearly coming in here. They're both using my credits as well as importing the jobs. Reloading again brings me to 8, and we should be done momentarily here as we're at 10. All right, so looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and check out what jobs it imported. Now, one other little nitpick here is it'd be nice to have a link to say like, here are the jobs that just got imported so I could review those specifically. But instead, I've got to go back out to my jobs and I can see them all right here. I mean, it looks like it worked perfectly. So we've got a sales account manager. Let's check this out. I'll view the job. Yeah, looks good to me. What's cool about this job? It's got the full description. I can click over here to apply, and it takes me to the correct page where I can click apply. All right, so that is Job Boardly. Let's check out the plans and pricing at AppSumo. I've been using the $79 tier 1 plan that includes just a single job board. Then we can move up to tier 2. For $199, you'll get 3 job boards. But like I mentioned earlier, you're probably going to want to get tier 3 if you're serious about this, because then you can remove the Job Boardly branding. By the way, let me point out where that is on the website. Right down here in the footer, it says powered by Job Boardly. If you want to get rid of that as well as send emails from your own domain name, you'll have to cough up either $100 or get at least tier 3. And if you really want to go all in on this job board thing, go up to tier 4. You'll get 10 job boards for $579. Of course, I got my link down below in the description if you want to check that out and help support the channel. So time for my final thoughts on Job Boardly. I found this to be a delightfully easy tool to use. Now, I've got to admit, I've never been a job board owner before. Looking through the AppSumo questions, it seems like some people legitimately do this as a side hustle or maybe even a full-time gig. I think that's pretty intriguing. But yeah, I found it to be very easy and simple to use. I only ran into a few of those little nitpicky things with the URL, but everything else was fairly simple. Oh, wait, there's one more thing that irritated me. Here it is. This is quick. On the design settings, when I want to change colors, they don't pull open a color picker. Instead, I have to copy and paste it in from some other place. So I can actually grab the eyedropper on Mac here and choose a different color on the screen, but just give me a hex code. Okay, so here I am complaining about URLs and hex codes. Everything else was smooth sailing. The platform is very fast. Occasionally I'd get a little hiccup where maybe it wouldn't load for a second, but then it would just be instantaneous. Every other page would load very quickly. I don't know how they have their technology set up, but I wonder if they're doing a large import, if that slows down other sites. I don't know. I would think it would be done on a different server, but the few tiny little slowdowns that made me think, well, maybe they're just doing a big import at that moment. Hope not. But other than that, I found it to be a very enjoyable platform. Now, personally, I don't really want to do this, so I probably won't be hanging on to Job Boardly. So I'm not exactly the target demographic. However, if you are someone who wants to create a job board, this is a very solid option. I can't find much to complain about with it, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7.8. So that's gonna do it for this review. Make sure you head over to clientamp.com and get signed up for the free email newsletter if you haven't already. Hit me up in the comments if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Dave Swift, and I'll see you in the next review.